So here we go. The fans were a little bit late on the cheer, but they finally snuck that one out. Maybe they had fallen asleep based on that delay. But as I said before, we are finally ready to get started here in this game. And looking at the Tigers comp once again, they don't really have this big tank in the top lane that we've been seeing quite often. Do you think Elise is just going to have to go very tanky build here in order to fill that role for the ROX Tigers?
Yeah, I think that Seonghwan's build should probably be a tanky variation. It doesn't necessarily need to be full tank. The later that this game does go, Linderong should just be able to roll over Huni. Once Fiora does get to her third, fourth item, I don't feel like Huni's going to be able to resist that too much. But I feel like the build-up to the mid-game is going to be the most crucial part of this game. Because if ROX gets ahead, I don't know how SK Telecom is going to stabilize against that amount of poke and pick.
That really is the big question here for sure. So starting off the game, we do have SKT's side with Peanuts in the jungle going for the blue buff. And we do have ROX's side, Seonghwan, going for the red buff start.
And top laners headed up to top lane right now. And in bottom lane, it's going to be interesting to see how this Syndra pick does, because that's the big question right now.
Yeah, you can see right from the get-go being a bit aggressive with those Qs, wanting to get a lot of damage done early on. It does have that long range, so definitely a good idea to go for something like that. And we're still getting a big view of the mid lane at the same time. You see Mickey trying to trade in here with Faker.
Mickey taking the brunt of that trade, but that's okay because he has Corrupting Potion. And we're going to have to see what Peanut does after getting level 3, because Seonghwan is electing for a 4-camp clear. Peanut still hasn't cleared his 3rd camp. He does have it now. Huni in top lane, a little dangerous.
Huni, yeah, taking a lot of damage there from Linderong right from the get-go. You were talking about maybe 3 or 4 items into the game, but here already at level 2, Linderong being able to take some good trades already.
Yep. A lot of trade up top. Peanut now taking the Scuttle Crab, has the option to go mid lane or top lane as Seonghwan makes his way over to his Wraith camp. Seonghwan might just eat his Wraith camp. Peanut looking to make something happen up in top, and if he could do that, it would take a lot of pressure off top lane, because that would probably mean that Huni would be able to recall into a Bomby Cinder before having to teleport back to lane if they could get a kill.
Faker trying to turn around here. Mickey eating a ton of damage, and Faker is not going to commit to that one, but Mickey will be forced out of the lane and forced to recall.
Definitely not something that Mickey wanted to have happen. This is right around the time where if he could have made Faker recall, it still wouldn't have been that bad for Faker, as he's just going to purchase the Tear of the Goddess. Faker not yet at the gold value, though, to get that. Definitely wants to sustain in the lane, as currently he would only be able to afford around Sapphire Crystal. So I think that was Mickey's intention.
Yeah, very true, as you often like to do against Ryze too. Look at that poke from Key, from that Syndra. You can see the Dark Sphere comes out into the Scatter of the Weak. You do a ton of damage, and the stun follow-up, which makes the easy volley for Ashe to do a ton of damage to whoever does get stunned.
Lots of poke, actually, from this Syndra pick, and it seems to be doing quite well. Bang & Wolf don't seem to have that much experience playing against it, at least so far, but they are managing to keep up in the CS score, so not a very big deficit there. Meanwhile, though, in top lane, Huni is already down a little bit over a wave. It's not the end of the world, but Linderong still hasn't recalled yet. Maybe trying to just sustain into a Tiamat.
Got a miss there. Oh, actually, the Sphere does miss, and here comes Wolf onto Key. Tons, well, not tons, just a bit of damage going onto Key, just a small trade here. Here comes Seonghwan into the jungle of SKT, and there were actually no wards to spot him at all, but just does put in a couple of very deep wards to see where Peanut is once he does enter that red side jungle. And SKT, unless they're very carefully keeping track of where Elise is in terms of her routes, they're not going to have a great idea of where those wards are.
Yeah. And right now, Seonghwan going to be able to just pick up his Grom, pick up his Wolves, and it doesn't really look like Peanut has anywhere to go. Linderong did just come back to top lane via a teleport, and so Peanut might want to move over to the left-hand side of the map and try to make something happen, which that could cause a very big problem for Rox, but it seems like Peanut has intentions to head over to his right side jungle, so not a lot of proactivity coming out from SK Telecom, which not something I would have expected, especially considering it's Peanut.
Look at this, Faker doing a ton of poke damage onto Mickey with his lane pushing in here, just wanting to try to force Mickey out of the lane. Here comes Elise, and now actually the lane is going to meet right in the middle, so not going to push too far forward for Faker, but there's the flash and the ultimate. First blood going over to Faker, immediately does cleanse. And wow, Mickey was just not expecting that level 6 spike.
Yeah, Mickey totally underestimated the amount of damage Faker could dish out right there. And that was a very easy first blood going over to SKT, and it wasted a lot of Seonghwan's time having to stay around in mid lane. He is going to pick up the minion wave that Mickey's unable to eat, but mid just got flipped on its head. And you can see the mechanics from Faker there with Cassiopeia's ultimate cleansing away so Seonghwan couldn't get on top of him.
Did you see how fast, because he flashed, ulted so fast, the animation actually showed behind Faker? Yep. Because he did it so fast. He pressed those 2 buttons so fast that it actually bugged out the game just a little bit. Here comes Seonghwan doing a little bit of an invade onto Peanut. He can easily leap over the wall after getting that Gromp, but this blue is in contention here.
And this is really big for the Rox Tigers, able to take away this blue buff from Faker. Will create a lot of pressure relief in mid lane. They're actually going to hand it over to Mickey. This is really good.
Yeah, very nice. So we're going to see a ton of poke coming down there in the mid lane. And uh-oh, the stun coming down onto Wolf as well as the exhaust. Heal will be able to get him away just barely. Even turning around for a silence as well, that Call the Void. And now the poke damage coming out of Varus, making Kiwi very low, and both of these supports very low in the bot lane. Neither jungle all too near. You do see Kha'Zix. Peanut there is getting closer, but doesn't show any signs of coming down bot just yet, so.
Not coming down bottom just yet. It's also important to note that Songyun was able to hold his heal, whereas Bang had to use his. So they still have that available to them. Songyun does have level 6, but he doesn't have the mana to cast his Enchanted Crystal Arrow as Ki starts his recall. Ki also has level 6 now.
And are we going to see some more outplays from Faker? That's the question. Maybe he just gets his own blue buff back by killing Mickey. Generally, when you are going up against a Corki, it's very hard to get any ganks onto him just because of that Valkyrie, but if you can just surprise him with the ultimate out of Cassiopeia, then that's another way to get a kill.
Meanwhile, up in top lane, Huni doing a pretty good job in the CS department. However, Linderong does have that call, recognizes that he's in command, basically, of the lane, and he's going to reward himself with the call turn in later on down the line. So far, Elise going the supportive route actually opted into the green smite, whereas Peanut, you can see he went for the red smite. Definitely looking to probably get aggressive coming into the mid game as it transitions. They're going to hand over the second blue buff to Mickey as well. So he's basically permanently hat blue, and that's actually why the CS lead in mid hasn't widened even further, and that's partially because Mickey can just constantly keep spending his mana in order to get the farm that he needs. Otherwise, Faker would just be able to zone him out.
Exactly. So doing a good job there, and you can see a lot of movement around that Infernal Drake. That is the first Drake of the game, as it's a very nice Drake for both of these teams, but just some wards being placed for now. You can see Seonghwan coming in trying to clear up some of that vision. I'm going to grab the Scuttle Crab as well, but look at this. No real vision except for the Tri-Brush, and here comes Peanut, the Chain of Corruption, as well as the Nether coming in, and just not enough damage. He is going to be able to flash away. Here comes Seonghwan on the counter gank, but not going to commit.
Not going to commit, so Seonghwan just came down in case SK Telecom wanted to try to take that a little bit further, but the turnaround from Rox, I think that SK Telecom wasn't expecting that much damage, and Peanut not quite able to close the gap in time so he could dish out the damage. Meanwhile, in mid though, Faker trying to put Mickey under a lot of pressure in the event that Rox Tigers would try to start an Inferno Drake. That way Faker would be able to get down to the dragon and zone Mickey off so that they could turn the tides.
kind of cute, spawning that Voiling in there, getting a bit of damage onto Elise. And just spotting it, just to make sure that nothing's going on, as they do not have a ward around there. You can see on the mini-map there's about 4 wards there for Rox around the Drake, so they do have a lot of vision around there. And here comes Huni back up top with the teleport. He's now evened up that CS score, 86 to 84, but you do see there's a wave pushing into Linderong. At least it is decently even for now.
Is even indeed, and I feel like as the early game transitions into the mid game, Rox haven't really gotten the lead that I feel like their team comp would need to go up against SK Telecoms in the mid game. So I feel like when we do have the first Inferno Drake fight, if it's going to be a team fight, it's probably going to end up going over to SK Telecom.
Especially because generally they're better at getting into engagements that they know they can win. They generally don't overstep their boundaries. They're very smart with the way they engage. Here comes Faker once again. You can see that Mickey, every time he just gets poisoned, he just Valkyries away. He doesn't even, he knows he can't take the trade after being poisoned if Cassiopeia is close enough. So he's forced back, forced to farm at a distance. That's about it. Here comes Peanut down into the bot lane once again. Let's see if he can set up something. There is a control ward in this bot brush. If he can clear that one up, we could see Kha'Zix join in here for another bot lane gank.
Not sure if Songyun's Hawkshot actually spotted Peanut just there, but he did turn around and head back to his Golem camp. And meanwhile, we're having a very passive early game, but as I mentioned, this doesn't benefit the Tigers as much as it does SK Telecom. Seonghwa needs to make something happen soon. Mickey recalling right now, so the CS gap in mid will increase a little bit, and you see the ping going down onto Faker's blue buff, so gonna hand over that blue to Faker right after he shoves in mid wave.
Here comes Linderong again, just spanks the Cuddle Crab and walks away, but is not going to go into that blue buff as he does not have Seonghwa or Mickey anywhere near this time around. Look at that very aggressive control ward out of Key this time. Wants to begin pushing in. Wolf is going to try to contest that, but this is part of the reason. Here comes Mickey and Seonghwa, but they walk right over a ward. And I think they can tell because of the movements of that bot lane that Mickey was spotted. So he just goes back to mid. Oh, there's the Chain of Corruption coming on in, and huge amount of damage down goes that Syndra. Sangyu now is exhausted. One more hit will do it. And that is going to be it. A double kill for Varus in the bot lane.
Double kill for SKT at this point is so bad for the Rox Tigers. Mickey, he has the package. I don't think he's going to be able to use it. They're going to look for a cheese here onto Faker. But if Faker reacts quick enough, this shouldn't work.
He does get the stun on someone. He's just going to turn, and that's going to be it for Elise. Now he wants more blood, trying to go for Mickey. He does lose the poison. Missed the poison, rather, but here he comes once again. Very aggressive coming in. He's going to cleanse the exhaust. Does miss another poison, so is forced to back off from here. Had he landed that last poison, I think he could have ended Mickey's life.
Yeah, he definitely could have, and that was an excellent turnaround by Faker. And now SK Telecom going to capitalize on this opportunity with Seonghwa being dead to capture the Inferno Drake. And this is how some of SK Telecom's games have gone, is everything goes very slow, and then all of a sudden it's just one giant explosion where they just get so far ahead of you.
Yeah. And you know what it is, too? It's not that SKT is doing these crazy, incredible plays. I think they're just capitalizing on the mistakes of Rox. So you could see the bot lane getting just too close to the turret. Just a bit of poke. We're not going to get a look at that, but they do get double-killed bot. And then this happens to Faker, and they don't respect the stun out of Cassiopeia. You see Elise running right at him, and look at how much damage he does at this point of the game.
And interestingly enough, Mickey didn't cast the exhaust right away, which is a little bit surprising. He must have known that Faker, yes, he can react with the cleanse. But even still, they greatly underestimated Faker's damage output right there and paid for it.
You do see Abyssal Scepter already built here on Faker, so off to a very fast start here. Just 15 minutes into the game. Is building up that tier. Already 1,000 gold ahead of Corki, of Mickey on the other side of the rift. Here comes Seonghwa trying to make something work again. He's kind of angled bot a couple of times, wasn't successful. Now he's up top. You can see Huni trying to just keep the lane here, but here comes Elise just running down the lane. They want to jump in onto Huni, but just not close enough, and Seonghwa's just going to come up and not do much.
A lot of Seonghwan's ganks that he's attempted this game have been extremely forceful, and when you're trying to coordinate a gank with your jungler, you need to make sure that you're keeping the wave in a position where they can get the gap closed and they can close the gap and get on top of your opponent so that they're able to help you. But so far, the way that Rox has played out their top and bottom lane, they haven't really been able to do that. And then in mid lane, Mickey from the get-go has been constantly at a disadvantage against Faker.
You see First Blood Turret also going over to SKT with Bang down on the bot lane, able to clear that one up. And it's getting further and further ahead. Now 2,000 gold ahead. They have the Infernal Drake. And now trying to set up something in the blue side jungle of the Rox Tigers. Perhaps a dive onto Mickey, or just waiting for Elise to jump into the jungle. But they will be spotted and will have to back off.
Now with bottom turret being gone, we might look to see Huni just finish eating this wave in top lane and then make his way down to the bottom, as the bot lane will now head top to try to take down the top tier 1 turret. And what that's going to do is it's going to let Faker continue to stay in mid lane and continuously just farm up. You don't want to waste his blue buff. You don't want to send your bottom lane to mid right now and then just have an inefficient duration on the blue. Just let him go up against Mickey, let him ride out his lead, and just send your bottom lane top.
And you can see Linderong does spot Peanut in the jungle, will spot Wolf here too, so they do know this rotation is happening, and they're going to send a bunch of members down bottom here too. You see Elise dealing with the Scuttle Crab. Maybe they do want to push that bottom turret. Maokai is not going to get there just yet, so...
Not going to get there, and Huni wisely just backs away from the turret, starts eating his golems, and the reason that Seonghwan was here was because if Maokai makes the mistake of just walking and hugging the very bottom of the map to get to the turret, they can just dive him with 3 members. And Huni, obviously recognizing that, knowing it's a possibility, intelligently just backs off and eats the golem camp.
Yeah, getting gold while he can, doesn't need to be in that lane. He's not going to save it anyway. And look at this push up and top. There's nothing to stop them here. You can see Linderong can't go 1v2 right now.
Yep.
Going to do a nice bit of damage there. Just continue pushing in.
This is an excellent punish by SK Telecom for Seonghwan being on the bottom half of the map, and this is why it was a little bit of a gamble for Seonghwan to go down there, because if they don't capitalize on Huni's mispositioning, if he makes it, then what ends up happening is you have nothing else to get down there. There's no way that you can stay around to get the red buff away from Peanut. There's no dragon. There's no incentive to be on that part of the map, and so SK Telecom, they recognize that, and they said, hey, we're going to do a little bit of damage to your top tier 2 as well.
So where does Rox go from here? You could see Ashe and Syndra are up top now, and Fiora has gone down bottom lane to match Maokai. Still only on about 1.5 items here with the Black Cleaver and the Tiamat. Uh-oh, big package coming on in. Nice dots there on the stun onto Faker, but an instant cleanse, and there's Wolf with the Nether Grasp onto Corki to pick up that kill. And now the rest of Rox Tigers on the run. Can Bang pick up another one? So much damage coming out. One more hit will do it. That's going to be it for Syndra. Elise is going to try to flash out. Nice cocoon. Will escape with her life, but another 2-0 for SKT.
Yeah, another 2-0, and now SK Telecom, there's going to be no contest in mid, and Songyun being the only member left to defend, they might even have to give up their mid 2 turret here. Huni doesn't have teleport, so he can't teleport back to a ward and try to flank Songyun, but nonetheless, Rox just greatly underestimating what SKT can do, and they're paying for it dearly.
Yeah, I feel like they're just letting the game get away from them here. They lost the early game, a couple of crucial mistakes, an outplay from Faker against Mickey, and now they're just falling so far behind. Linderong is not given enough time to really get enough items to be much of anything in this game just yet. It's just kind of been farming the entire time, just at 0-0-0. There is the Eternal Crystal Arrow onto Faker and the stun out of Syndra. They should be able to get Faker here, and that they do. Nice pickup there for the Rox Tigers.
Very nice pickup indeed. Not quite sure if, wow, they are. They're going to go for a Baron attempt here. Huni doesn't have teleport. He's running up from bottom. Very risky attempt, but it's a gamble that they need to make if they want to stay in this game.
And they might be able to get this here. Let's see if Peanut can come in here and get the smite. Is he going to be able to? And he does! Unbelievable out of Peanut. He gets the Baron away. And look at the rest of Rox Tigers. Bang just trying to get on top of them. Going to do a ton of damage here. Is forced to flash away, but here comes Huni for the pickup. We do see someone trying to get onto Wolfie. Will pick up that kill. Down goes Key, though, on the opposite side of things. Mickey will escape here, rather, and Huni is still on the chase. Let's see if he can get onto Mickey.
Mickey has to be really careful. Sunghan canceled his recall.
To go for the cocoon, and it's not really going to help. No Valkyrie for now, and Mickey is also going to go down. So the Baron and 4 kills. Oh, we're not done there. Could be 5. No, the cocoon.
Not done yet, and I think the reason that Huni is doing this is because Faker is handing off the wave into Huni, who still has the Baron buff. So now the wave's not going to be as delayed as it comes up to top lane. Huni's going to be able to stay here. They don't need him for Infernal Drake. So take another look at this replay. So they killed Faker, and they tried to go for a gamble. If they can get this Baron, they might have a chance still in this game. But it's such a deficit right now. They have to do it. And when they did, Peanut able to get the steal, and that's basically the nail in the coffin, because now they have to concede Infernal Drake after this. You can see Huni arrives to the fight, and he's able to clean up the remaining members and keep the Baron buff. But now they have to give up the second Infernal Drake of the game. They're down on turrets. They're down on CS score everywhere. And what do you really do now if you're the Tigers? The composition that you chose to draft was never really able to get into a situation where you could just blitz down your opponent. And the composition, as we reach the mid-game, we talked about this, it doesn't really have it doesn't have a leg to stand on unless it was able to accelerate ahead of SKTs, and that just wasn't the case.
Yeah, look at this, a trade from Huni. We get to see the tail end of that fight. Maybe Linderong just getting a bit desperate, trying to make something happen. But he does get 1v1, solo kill going over to Huni, who is now 3-0-0. And Peanut, you know, he didn't want to be outshone by his 2 older brothers, Faker and Huni. He does get the Baron steal, but still have to hand it over to Faker and Huni as well in this game. Just absolutely dominant throughout the entirety of it.
Yep. Now they're pushing on to the bottom turret. Not quite going to get it on this wave, but meanwhile in top lane, Huni escorting a wave into the top tier 2 turret, and there's going to be no answer for that from Rox. They might use Linderong's teleport to it so that it doesn't take as much damage, but even that I feel won't be too good of a decision.
Looks like
Telecom backs off though.
Yeah, they're just going to back off, and Linderong is just going to walk on up there.
We can take another look at this replay, and not quite sure what Linderong was thinking. Huni able to get that root with the twisting advance right into turret range. Linderong just going down, and that's a point where they couldn't afford to have Linderong go down.
Yeah, it's, as I said before, it looked a little bit like desperation, where it's, when you're going up against Maokai underneath the turret, it's almost like he overestimated how tanky he was, which is not tanky at all on this Fiora. He cannot eat those tower shots. And even the Q out of Maokai does a bit of damage, so had to be so careful with that. Just a small mistake, but will get SKT even farther ahead as they secure now a 7,000 gold lead. And Huni is still pushing top with this Baron.
To make matters worse for the Tigers, I really like how Bang already has that Quicksilver Sash, taking away the ability for Ki or Songyun to try to stun him, or even Seonghwan to hit him with Cocoon and then try to remove him from a fight, because he is crucial in SK Telecom being able to poke their way into Rox Tigers' base.
Yeah, the amount of damage he does from behind as well is quite astonishing when you do look at it. He was almost able to clean up the entirety of Rox's team at that Baron by himself, and will be key in the coming fights. And here comes SKT looking to push down another turret. They do have 2 Inferno Drakes, by the way, so that's a nice little stack for them as well. Do pick up the second turret here in the top lane. It looks like they will back off from here.
Linderong in bottom lane, he does have the teleport available. He can still shred turrets quite quickly. Huni gonna get to bottom, be able to meet the wave there. Linderong he's not yet at a point where he can just keep dancing underneath turrets against the Maokai and just eventually overpower him. They don't have that option available to them, and so it's still a waiting game for the Tigers. They need to just keep trying to scale up. Next dragon of the game is an Ocean Drake.
Not really a big deal at this point in time, but should be the next one. You always talk about potentially delaying that Drake so that the next one is an Elder Drake, especially with Baron coming up in 2 minutes. So we'll see if SKT wants to make that work.
would be very interesting if SK Telecom recognizes the position and lead that they're in and do intentionally delay the capture of that Drake, just so they know, hey, we already have 2 Infernal Drakes. We don't need to try to RNG a third one or RNG a Mountain. We can just wait to capture this, and then we're guaranteed the Elder, and then you have to respond to an Elder Drake push as well.
You can see Linderong is hanging around this time. He's not near any turrets, so he should be okay for now. I'm just going to be 1v1ing in that lane. Both Linderong and Huni still have their teleports up, so keep in mind that that is an option for if a fight does occur sometime soon in this game. Look at the amount of vision that's been taken away from this jungle by SKT for the Tigers. And Tigers respecting that a lot. They're not going anywhere near that jungle. They know how far they are behind. They just have to play the turtle game.
Oh, a lot of damage going on to that turret right there. Bang does have the red buff as well. And the turret's opened up.
Yeah, even without any minions, just able to do that last bit of damage. And not the best wave clear out of the Rox Tigers either. Another miss stun there from Key, and it looks like this mid inhibitor is going to go down as the first inhibitor of the game. And Faker trying to do a bit of damage here to Mickey, but we'll just back off for now.
And I really like how slow and steady that they're taking this. They know that Baron's coming up in 30 seconds. They're just stealing the last bits of Seonghwan's jungle.
That enchanted crystal arrow right through the goalpost. Uh-oh. Peanut's in a bit of trouble. Linderong is not going to engage here, though. And look at Faker on the right side all alone. You can see someone already taking a ton of damage. He will get cocooned, but now look at Bang on the left side. One more hit will do it. Kha'Zix does even that up 1 for 1. And here's Faker. Wants to kill everybody on this team, and he's not going to be able to get many. Just one. Only the Ashe. Oh, actually does get the at least 2 there with the poison. Nicely done. Does get the 2 for 1.
Does get the 2 for 1 indeed. Meanwhile, in top lane, there's a giant wave Linderong recalling to go and pick that up. And SKT, I don't think they'll go for a 3-man. Oh, they will. It looks like they actually do just want to go for a 3-man Baron. A lot of the damage is going to be reliant on Peanut, but take a look at this replay. Peanut using his ultimate to get away from Linderong, hops over the wall. Meanwhile, Faker on the outskirts. They really wanted to end the game here, potentially, if Rox messed up. See Mickey Valkyrieing forward, able to get the kill onto Bang, but Peanut was right there to finish him up. And then Faker able to go into the backline of the Tigers, and then you can see the poison ticks and ends up getting Seonghwan.
As he's dying, he does get that. Hold that thought. Here comes Key trying to get the steal onto Baron. Not going to happen. So SKT does pick up the second Baron of the game here, this time with no hopes of a steal. And, well, that 14-6 and already a 12,000 gold lead here for SKT. They will be looking to make their final pushes in just a few minutes.
Yep, and Baron buff on all of the members. Took a little while to get the Baron. They didn't quite have the champions up that they ideally would have had to secure it, but they get it nonetheless. Now they're going to pick up this Ocean Drake, and does he wait? Well, next dragon of the game,
Will be that Elder Drake, so we'll have that as an option. Here comes Linderong, trying to go for that trade here. Can he get that grand challenge proc? No, look at the amount of damage just coming out from the Baron boosted minions. Is going to lunge away and get away with his life with the help of the cocoon. But here comes Peanut, ulting in, and is going to leap in, and the W just barely not going to be able to pick up that kill. In the meantime, though, as that is going 2v2 up in top lane, 3 members of SKT pushing in the bottom lane are going to get the turret and the inhibitor. Now that's 2 turrets and 2 inhibitors in the space.
Yep, 2 inhibitors down. The mid one will come up shortly, but still, Rox Tigers, they're not out of the woods yet. They have to still sustain against SK Telecom's top push. Bang still has a lot of mana available to him, so the poke is going to be quite difficult for Rox to find a way to live through.
See what they try to do here. You can see even down to the last bush, SKT is giving no vision. Only these 2 wards. No, not even those 2 wards. Those are going to be denied too. Not really going to matter here, though, as SKT is pushing in as 5 is going to take out that 3rd tower here. 3rd inhibitor tower. There does go the inhibitor. And Rox, just with their tail between their legs, kind of just waiting it out. They're not able to save any of these inhibitors.
3 inhibitors down, so now 7v5 is enabled, 2 super minions spawning from each lane. And with Baron to top it off, we might just see the end of the game here in a moment.
Yeah, you can see the zoning from Faker. He's like, yeah, I dare you to come try to fight me right now. Me and the rest of my homies. Really just too strong at this time. And we'll just wait until the other waves do come in. And there's the super minion in the front. Bit more poke from Bang. And some poking going down onto these turrets. And Mickey trying to make something happen on the right side. Not going to be able to. Just desperately fighting against these Baron minions. Going to take down the second Nexus turret. Finally an arrow coming in. Huni says, what did you say? I'm going to kill you instead. Down goes Ash. Down goes Linderong. And down goes the Rocks Tigers in game number 1 as SKT takes game number 1.
And what a way to take game number 1. Everything was really going super slow and steady, and then all of a sudden it just got completely out of control. And Faker's almost solo kill super early on against Mickey, and then later on, the turnaround also onto Seonghwan and Mickey. Absolutely fantastic.